Denizens of the last star, do you hear that sound? That is the sound of the inevitable. It's only a matter of time before the last star is consumed by the Fall.
So what happens when all of the universe only has one star left? Well, all the aliens and races and planets, whoever goes to that last star and fight for the last energy resources. And of course, there's going to be a fight. So, we're going to London and become Battleborn. I got my boarding pass, oh, this is my passport, and my boarding pass on my phone. Let's go. So you might be wondering, what is Battleborn, and why are we headed to the 2K bunker in Windsor? Gearbox Software, best known for Borderlands, but also Duke Nukem Forever, Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Brothers in Arms series, brings a new hero shooter to the table with a vast universe to shoot and loot in. I sat down with level designer Graeme Timmins and creative director Randy Varnell to dive into the lore, the rewards, and tell me how to become Battleborn, starting off with the available factions.
There are 5 factions in the game, and all the factions have been designed both to give you kind of a visual identifier with things that you love, and they affect the story. They help you to understand the characters and the motivations going on in the universe. So you have, I always start with the Peacekeepers, Montana and Oscar Mike. They're kind of very pro-military. They're very bureaucratic. They're very, you can join us in saving the universe, but you're going to have to sign these waivers and get this and agree to our council and all of that. But they are very kind of gun-based, very military. They build bunkers. If you like guys with shotguns and assault rifles and miniguns and all of that, they're kind of for you. We've got the Rogues. The Rogues are, every good sci-fi series needs their space pirates and their mercenaries and like Borderlands. It's all the bandits. So I think all the bandits are rogues. We have the LLC, the Last Light Consortium. They live in these giant kind of Victorian-esque arcology ships. They are wealthy aristocrats. In fact, they are the war manufacturers, the warmongers. They make all of the robots that are in all of our levels. Anytime you see a minion or build a buildable, it's from the LLC. There's a sub-corporation of the LLC, which is hysterical to say, called Minion Robotics, who makes all of the minions, all of the sentries. And so the LLC, every time you deploy a minion, they get a little profit. So even though the rest of the universe is dying, they're still broadcasting wrestling matches on TV. And Eldragoon got his start in being a galactic grand champion in the wrestling before he joined the Battleborn to help save the last star. The Eldred, who really, if you like anything having to do with like fantasy and magic, that's the Eldred. They are elves with bows, dwarves with axes, Miko, whatever Miko is, a mushroom. But they are definitely have to do with life. The Eldred is a faction in the lore. They started off not very aggressive. They want to preserve the natural order of the universe. They observe. They know they're actually very intelligent and actually probably technologically the most sophisticated out of our factions. But they don't like to exhibit that. They're very subtle in that. In fact, they like to preserve the natural growth, the natural order of things, and get very upset when people disturb that, which puts them at odds with the last faction a lot, the Generate. The Generate is one of the largest empires that ever existed in the last few years, a few thousand years of the galaxy at least. The Generate are, we use words to describe them like vampires and samurai and laser katanas. That's how we described Wrath when we made him, who's one of our first Generate characters we talked about. And they're massive and imperial. They were once led by an empress who, when our villain Rendane betrayed all of kind of the good people of the remaining universe, he split the Generate Empire. And so Rendane, which you'll fight in our story episodes, is now leading the Generate Imperium, who have become kind of the bad guys. He struck a deal with the devil, with the BRLtv, our mysterious foes from somewhere else. And Rendane is fighting against a Battleborn who are now opposed to him, the Generate. Deandy, who used to be the Generate spy mistress, is now fighting alongside the Battleborn, along with Wrath, Umbra, who is a part of that inner circle as well, and a few others.
So who are their favorites out of these factions?
I probably lean towards the LLC, Phoebe is one of my favorite characters, and Eldred, probably. I play a lot of Miko. I like healing, but he can be really lethal too. If you spec him the right way, he can do just as much damage as he does his healing. And Thorn too is in the Eldred, and she's a fun like sniper character using that bow and arrow, and she's got her abilities for blight in particular can be really powerful. So I kind of go between those two factions as far as my favorites.
For favorites, I also really like the LLC aesthetically. They're kind of that Victorian-esque mixed with Tron a little bit, and they're really cool. Lore-wise, man, I really love the Generate. I've spent a lot of time writing background for this game, and the Generate have one of the longest and most in-depth histories. When you read about them, you'll get to explore a little bit about that in the game. But Umbra is one of my favorite. You know, Graeme said he loves playing Miko. I like Umbra because I love meteors and sunspots and doing lots of big area damage with the ability to heal in the back end. But she's just really cool, kind of a sun priestess type of vibe.
With the whopping 25 characters at launch, there's a lot of story to tell. So how does Battleborn take us through the lore?
Most of the lore you can read in the game is going to be very character-centric. So there's some general lore that you'll be able to read on websites and stuff, and you certainly tell the story through the game. But every one of our characters has 5 lore challenges that you complete in the course of the game. And usually, to complete a lore challenge, you do something that teaches you something about how to use the character's ability, like Miko heal for 100,000 points of damage, or Reyna overshield to prevent the death of a character 30 times, something like that. Every time you unlock a lore challenge, complete a lore challenge, we give you a bit of lore. Some of it is just text to read that tells you a little bit of the backstory or a dossier or history about that. Sometimes it's recorded VO that's a conversation between one or more of our characters. There's some other things in there, some neat pictures. There's a song down in there that talks about one of the characters. There's some poetry, all sorts of weird stuff that the writer Aaron Lindy and I spent time putting together. But through a lot of the characters, while you kind of focus on looking at the universe through their lens, you learn a lot about the universe in general. I know one lore entry specifically that has some timelines for the universe. Behind the scenes, I crafted a massive timeline to keep it all straight. That covers, I think I tweeted a few weeks ago, 1.3 million years of history in a bunch of events. It's Miko's planet you start with. It's the outlier, right? Because the Miko's home planet, which is a giant fungal organism, was 1.3 million years old. It first becomes sentient, and then there's a big gap, and there's not that much. I didn't go that nuts.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
So there's a lot that we wanted to. I was really important to me that type of lore is in game. So you're playing, you get it as a reward, you see it, you can go out between matches, you can go read it and learn. I think that's really fun. That was really cool.
Given the incentive to discover backstories of any of the Battleborn, there are ways to prevent the game from feeling too grindy, even if there are 15 separate ranks for each character to level up.
We try to make it that each character itself is so different and so interesting that you want to explore all the characters naturally. Of course, you'll probably gravitate to a handful as your mains, but you'll want to be experienced with all of them so you can know their strengths and weaknesses so that you can exploit them. It's similar to a fighter. You'll have your main and a fighter, but you play all the other ones too because you have to know how to play them. You have to know their timings, and it's in the same place. So there's those 15 character ranks there, but they shouldn't feel overwhelming just because you'll naturally want to experience them so much, and you'll want to unlock those things naturally that it shouldn't feel grindy.
Letting you play in a squad of 5 characters that brings a variety of interaction, team composition is quite important in both PvE and PvP content. Will the game offer advice on which character to pick?
We played with a couple of strategies on that. Right now, there's not that's not explicitly in. You can see as you scroll through the characters in that what their archetype is, whether they're attacker, a defender, a supporter. At one point early on in the game, we did have how much of this certain thing, how much of that certain thing. We've had to focus for the last few months on just finishing all of the characters and all the story missions and all the gear that we put in the game. So that's a great suggestion. It's something that we heard a little bit in the closed technical test that people wanted a little bit more of that and would love to support that a little bit more. But we'll have to see. Maybe we can slip that in a little bit later.
We're not going headfirst into battle without the promise of rewards, of course. There are a couple of ways to earn loot in Battleborn.
The mini bosses or bosses all drop specific pieces of loot that you can run for, the legendary pieces of gear. But outside of that, throughout the map, there are a handful of chests, usually 3 to 4 a map, that have a very high likelihood to drop a piece of gear. And in that chest, you have chances of getting like green or purple or blue purple. So you can get those in chests. And then outside of that, I don't know if you noticed, but campaign challenges pop up on your screen periodically throughout the map. And typically an example might be like kill 10 primal thrall. If you complete those, you will get some credit for completing it, but you also have a chance for getting one of those packs. And you actually have a greater chance of getting a gear pack from those challenges if you play in 5-player and you play in the advanced difficulty. You have the best chance to get that reward because, of course, you're playing the most difficult content, but you also have that carrot of, man, if I do it, there's a good chance I'm going to get a piece of gear here. So there's plenty of ways to get gear in the campaign.
Yeah, and I'll also mention too that gear packs can also be purchased for credits. Credits are the currency that you earn from playing. Whether it doesn't matter how you play, whether you're playing versus multiplayer, you're playing the cooperative. In the cooperative matches and the story missions, you actually pick up credits one blue coin at a time and get awarded bonus credits from also completing those challenges that Graeme was talking about. So if you through a combination of looking for and finding and grinding it, you can the bosses have very specific loot on them, just like we did in Borderlands. So I'm sure it won't take any time at all for the community to figure out specifically what drops where, and people will want to rerun certain bosses to find certain things for builds. But you can always go back and buy additional loot packs with those credits out of the game. Open them up; they're completely random. And later on, if you're looking for specific levels of rarity, like you only want a rare one or you only want epic loot packs, you can spend more credits and buy those to ensure that you're going to get that higher rarity gear. Gear doesn't drop in PvP missions. We've been very protective all along in PvP about trying to be sure we don't ever incentivize things that are not constructive for winning the game. So we're watching for that, and if gear drops in there, it prioritizes a lot of people toward that, even though maybe you should be defending your sentry from about to lose his shields and to be eaten up. So we have to be very careful there. I wouldn't say we wouldn't ever do it, but right now the only drops you get are in the story missions, and then in competitive, you're going to have to earn those credits up and spend that between the missions.
You don't have to grind for loot alone, of course. While the game does require you to always be online and you can play with other online players, for the couch inclined, the way it works for split screen is pretty neat.
So you log in with your account on that, and all the progress is stored on the server on the back end. So whatever you earn, whatever you entitle is on your account, and we'll keep that up. Even if you go, like I frequently, I play, right now I'm playing on PC a lot more because we're developing at work, and then I come home at night. And on a PC, I can, whatever I earn on my Steam account at work, we remember that on the back end. I come home, log in, play. I have all the same things. So yeah, if your friend comes over, plays couch co-op with you, whatever they've earned, whatever they've entitled, whatever gear that they've gotten for that, that's all stored server side. It was in fact, that reason, along with wanting to be sure that we have good performance in competitive multiplayer, is one of the reasons that we decided to put the game online and require that. We can store and keep hold of that and remember that for you, and I think that's a really great service. One of the things we really wanted to do in Borderlands, but never could because Borderlands has a strong offline component.
And what of the Battleborn brethren on other platforms? The floodgates have opened on this topic, so we're eager to hear what cross-platform possibilities there are.
I wish. We talked about that. We've seen some other games like Rocket League has, recently allowed PC and PS4 to mix in together, which is really cool. Because of requirements between Microsoft and Sony, I don't think you could ever do Xbox to PlayStation. But either of those to the PC has been something we've talked about. We don't support that right now, but I would love to hear how many people think that's really cool, and we would certainly consider it in the future.
Battleborn will have plenty of support post-launch, with additional multiplayer maps, characters, and game modes all for free. And the Season Pass will net you the episodic story content and cosmetic gear as the 5 packs are released. But if you're still on the fence, the open beta for Battleborn will be available before launch.
Get ready for fun. It's a fun game. It's an exciting game. It has a lot of depth, but it's immediately approachable. So if it looks out of your league, it's really not. Give it a shot, and you will pretty much instantly have fun.
We've created this game for a broad audience. This is the first T-rated game, you know, teenage-rated game. I can't remember what it is in Europe, but Peggy 16 game that we've created at Gearbox in a long time. We've typically had games for a little bit older audience, and we did that very intentionally because, you know, I have kids that I want to play with when I game now. I know a lot of other people do, so we've created a game not only with the content that is everyone. We still have a little bit of the fun and the edge and the color of Gearbox in there, but a game that's not only approachable but is for all gamers and all types of style. We have characters that are great for Twitch players, characters that are great for strategic players, characters that are great. There's a lot of depth, so regardless of your age or what kind of other games and all, everybody should try this. Find out what Battleborn is their best.
Well, I learned a lot about Battleborn today, and I can't wait to become a Battleborn because I feel I'm ready. Thanks to Randy, thanks to Graeme, I learned a lot about the story, about the multiplayer, and I hope you did too. So I think it's time to go and mentally prepare to become a Battleborn. I'm TamTu, I'll see you next time.
I am so ready to rock!
Got a little something right here, big guy.
Huh? Did I get it?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.